The council chamber was enormous, filled with beings from 100 different worlds. Ambassador Hannah Park sat in the human delegation seat, her hands folded calmly on the table. She had been Earth's voice in the Galactic Council for 3 years now, but she had never seen the chamber. This tense dot at the center of the room floated a Valkyrie ambassador. His name was Calvana, and his translucent blue skin rippled with distress. The Valkyrie were water dwellers, peaceful and gentle. They had given the galaxy amazing medical advances and had never hurt anyone. Now, they were dying. Please. Calvana's voice echoed through the translation devices. The Korthic Empire has taken 12 of our worlds. We have tried negotiation. We have offered them resources, technology, anything they want. They only want destruction. The reptilian ambassador from the Korthic Empire hissed with amusement. You are weak. The strong take what they need. This is the way of the universe. Around the chamber, other species murmured. Some looked uncomfortable. Others seemed to agree with the Korthak. The galaxy had rules, but those rules only worked when everyone followed them. The Korthak didn't care about rules. Calvana turned slowly, looking at each delegation. The council cannot help us. Your laws are too slow. Your procedures take years. My people will be extinct in months. He paused, then did something shocking. He turned to face the human delegation. But perhaps there is one species that can help. One species that understands what it means to fight for those who cannot fight for themselves. Hannah felt every eye in the chamber turn toward her. Humans had only joined the Galactic Council 60 years ago. Most species still thought of Earth as a young, primitive world. A death world, they called it, because Earth had higher gravity, more extreme weather, and more predators than most civilized planets. The Draxan Consortium leader stood up. His species looked like tall, thin insects with multiple eyes. This is madness. Humans are barely civilized. They have fought wars among themselves for their entire history. They are violent, unpredictable, and dangerous. Exactly, Calvana said quietly. They know how to fight. And more importantly, they know why to fight. Hannah stood up slowly. She was short compared to most species in the chamber, but she had learned how to make her presence felt. The Valkyrie are asking for Earth's help? Yes, Calvana said. We are asking you to protect us. The chamber erupted in noise. Half the species were shouting that this was a terrible idea. The other half seemed curious about what would happen. Humans had a reputation. They were stubborn. They were creative in war. And they had a strange idea that the strong should protect the weak, not exploit them. Hannah looked at the Valkyrie ambassador for a long moment. Then she tapped her communication device. Captain Kim, are you monitoring this? A voice crackled through her earpiece. Captain Jinho Kim commanded the diplomatic vessel orbiting the station. Yes, Ambassador. I've been listening. Can we do this? Hannah asked quietly. There was a pause. Then Jinho's voice came back, firm and certain. We can try. That's what humans do, isn't it? We try. Hannah turned back to the council. Earth accepts the Valkyrie request. But we have conditions. The Draxan Consortium leader laughed. Conditions? You think you can make demands? Yes, Hannah said simply. If we're going to protect the Valkyrie, we need complete access to their space. We need command authority over all defensive operations. And we need freedom to use human tactics and methods. Several ambassadors gasped. Giving humans complete military control was unheard of. But Calvana didn't hesitate. Agreed. All of it. Please, just save my people. The council voted. It wasn't even close. Most species either wanted to see if humans could actually help, or they wanted to watch humans fail and prove they were too dangerous for the galaxy. Either way, the decision was made. After the session ended, Hana walked quickly to the docking bay. Captain Jinho was waiting for her at the airlock of his ship, the Horizon's Promise. He was tall for a human, with sharp eyes and the calm manner of someone who had spent 20 years in space. "We're really doing this," he said. It wasn't a question. "We're really doing this," Hana confirmed. "How fast can you get a fleet together?" "Admiral Beak's battle group is 3 days away. But I can take my ship and 2 escorts ahead. We need to see what we're dealing with." He paused. "Hana, the Korthic Empire has hundreds of warships. Earth is sending maybe 50 vessels total. The math doesn't work. Since when do humans care about math?" A new voice said. Yundeho walked up, carrying a datapad. He was Earth's chief military strategist, a thin man with gray hair and eyes that never stopped calculating. "We've been studying the Korthic. They fight like bullies. They're used to enemies who surrender easily. They've never fought anyone who fights back with real determination." Dr. Sumin Choi joined them, her medical bag slung over her shoulder. She was a xenobiologist who had studied dozens of alien species. "I've been researching Valkyrie physiology. They can't fight, not really. Their bodies aren't built for it. But they're incredibly intelligent, and their reaction time is 3 times faster than ours. If we can find roles for them that don't require violence, they could be valuable allies." Jinho nodded. "Then we have a plan. We go to Valkyrie space. We assess the situation. We figure out how to make this work." He looked at each of them. "This is going to be hard. We might not all come back. That's always been true," Hana said quietly. "But the Valkyrie asks for help. And when someone asks for help, you give it. That's what makes us human." 2 days later, as the Horizon's Promise prepared to jump to Valkyrie space, Jinho received a priority message. It was intercepted Korthic communication, decoded by Earth intelligence. He read it twice, his expression growing darker. He called his senior staff to the bridge. "We have a problem. The Korthic aren't just conquering the Valkyrie. They're looking for something." "Looking for what?" Suman asked. Jinho displayed the intercepted message on the main screen. "Ancient Valkyrie bioweapons. Apparently, millions of years ago, the Valkyrie weren't always peaceful. They fought a terrible war and created weapons that could destroy entire species by targeting specific DNA. When the war ended, they buried these weapons deep in their ocean worlds and swore never to use them again." Yundeho went pale. "If the Korthic get those weapons, they won't just conquer the Valkyrie," Jinho finished. "They'll be able to conquer the entire galaxy. They could target any species they want. Make them sick, sterile, or just kill them all." The bridge was silent. This changed everything. They weren't just protecting one species anymore. They were protecting everyone. "Set course for Valkyrie Prime," Jinho ordered. "Maximum speed. And send a message to Admiral Beak. Tell her to bring everything she's got." As the ship jumped into faster-than-light travel, Jinho looked out at the stars. Somewhere ahead, the Valkyrie were dying. The Korthic were hunting for weapons that could doom the galaxy. And Earth, the youngest species in the Council, was the only one willing to stand in the way. He smiled grimly. Typical human luck. The Valkyrie Prime system looked like a graveyard. Broken ships drifted in orbit, their hulls torn open. Emergency beacons flashed from life pods scattered across space. Captain Jinho Kim stood on the bridge of the Horizon's Promise, watching the destruction with a heavy heart. "How many survivors?" he asked quietly. Lieutenant Taiyang Shin checked his sensors. The young pilot was one of Earth's best, though his cocky attitude sometimes got him in trouble. "Maybe 10,000 in the life pods. But Captain, their evacuation ships are still intact. They're just running away." "They're not running away," Dr. Sumin said from her station. She had been studying the Valkyrie tactics. They're evacuating civilians. It's all they know how to do. They don't have weapons. They don't have military training. They build fast ships to save people, not to fight. Commander Nari Lee, Jinho's second-in-command, pulled up a tactical display. She was a brilliant naval strategist, patient and thorough. The Korthik attacked 3 days ago. They destroyed the orbital defense platforms, then left. They're systematically hitting every Valkyrie world, destroying defenses, then moving on. It's not conquest. It's extermination. No, Yoon Daeho said, studying the pattern. It's a search pattern. They're checking each world for the bioweapon sites. When they don't find what they want, they move to the next target. Jinho made a decision. Taiyang, take your squadron and start recovering those life pods. Sumin, coordinate with the Valkyrie evacuation ships. Tell them we're here to help. Nari, I want a full analysis of the Korthik attack pattern. Where will they hit next? Already working on it, Nari said. Based on their trajectory, they'll hit the Valkyrie colony of Deepwater 7 in about 18 hours. Then that's where we're going. Jinho turned to his engineering chief. Hyan, I need you to look at the Valkyrie ships. Is there any way we can add weapons to them? Engineer Hyan Kwan looked up from his console. He was a quiet man who had a reputation for working miracles with limited resources. Their ships are fast, Captain. Really fast. And they have excellent sensors. If we could add shield generators and some basic weapons, they could actually be effective in hit-and-run tactics. Make it happen, Jinho ordered. The next 12 hours were chaos. Human engineers swarmed over Valkyrie evacuation ships, welding shield generators and mounting small railguns. The Valkyrie watched in amazement. They had never considered making their ships into weapons. Calvana came aboard the Horizons, promised to meet with Jinho. His blue skin flickered with worry. Captain Kim, we cannot fight. Our species has no instinct for violence. Even if you give us weapons, we don't know how to use them. Then we'll teach you what you can do, Sumin said gently. She had been working on this problem. Your reaction time is 3 times faster than ours. Your sensor interpretation is incredible. You can see threats before we do. You don't need to fire weapons. You need to tell us where to fire. Jinho nodded. In human military history, we learned that not everyone needs to be a warrior. We need scouts, we need communication specialists, we need coordinators. The Valkyrie can be our eyes and ears. We'll be the sword. Calvana's skin rippled with something that might have been hope. You really believe we can work together? I know we can, Jinho said, because we don't have any other choice. 18 hours later, the Korthik arrived at Deepwater 7. There were 20 of their warships, massive and covered in weapons. They expected another easy victory. Instead, they found humans waiting. Taiyang led the first attack. His squadron of 8 fighters dove out of the shadow of the moon, weapons blazing. The Korthik were caught completely off guard. 3 of their ships took heavy damage before they could react. All ships, engage. Jinho ordered. The battle was chaos. The Horizon's Promise and her 2 escort ships attacked from one direction while the modified Valkyrie ships struck from another. But the humans weren't trying to win. They were trying to frustrate and confuse. Valkyrie ship Dawn Runner, enemy destroyer turning toward you, a Valkyrie coordinator called out. Their sensors had spotted the movement 3 seconds before human sensors would have. Confirmed. Adjusting position, the Dawn Runner's human pilot responded, dodging away before the Korthik could get a targeting lock. The Korthik commander was furious. He sent message after message demanding the humans surrender. When they refused, he pressed his attack harder. But every time his ships tried to pin down the humans, they would scatter into asteroid fields or behind moons. The Valkyrie scouts would warn of ambush. The human ships would strike and fade. After 6 hours of fighting, the Korthik retreated. They had lost 5 ships and dozens more were damaged. The humans had lost 2 fighters and 3 crew members. The Valkyrie had lost no one. On the bridge of the Horizon's Promise, Jinho let out a breath he didn't know he'd been holding. They had won. Barely, but they had won. "Captain, we're receiving a transmission," Nari said. "It's from the Korthik commander." Jinho nodded. "Put it through." The Korthik appeared on screen. He was huge, his scales dark red and his eyes full of rage. "You are insects, pests. We will crush you." "Then you shouldn't have retreated," Jinho said calmly. "This is Valkyrie space now. You're not welcome here." The transmission cut off. But Jinho knew this was just the beginning. The Korthik had hundreds more ships. This small victory would only make them angry. 3 days later, Taiyang's squadron captured a damaged Korthik scout ship. They brought the enemy crew aboard, locked in the brig. Jinho went down to interrogate them personally. The Korthik officer was defiant at first, but Yundeho had studied the Korthik culture. He knew they valued strength and respected those who showed power. The interrogation took hours, but eventually, the officer talked. What he said changed everything. Jinho immediately called his senior staff together. His face was grim. The Korthik aren't acting alone. They're being paid by the Draxan Consortium. "The same species who opposed us in the council?" Suman asked. "Yes, apparently, the Consortium sees humanity as a threat. We're too unpredictable, too good at war. They want to bleed our military strength before we become powerful enough to challenge them." Jinho pulled up a star map. "This whole thing is a trap. They want us to send all our ships here. Then they'll attack our other interests across the galaxy." Nari studied the map. "So if we stay, we're walking into their trap. But if we leave, the Valkyrie die." "Exactly." The room was silent. It was Taiyang who spoke up first. "So we spring the trap. But we do it our way." "What do you mean?" Jinho asked. Taiyang grinned. "The Consortium thinks they know how humans fight because they've studied our history. They expect us to fight honorably, to follow rules. But you know what humans are really good at? Changing the rules." Yundeho smiled slowly. "The Korthik fight information. They rely on overwhelming firepower. They expect their enemies to be intimidated. But what if we show them something they've never seen before?" "What's that?" Kelvana asked. He'd been listening quietly. "Humans who won't quit," Jinho said. "Humans who fight dirty. Humans who protect those they've sworn to protect, no matter the cost." He looked at each person in the room. "We're outnumbered 10 to 1. Maybe more. The smart thing would be to retreat, to ask for help, to wait for better odds. But that's not what humans do," Hein said quietly. "No," Jinho agreed. "It's not. We stand our ground. We hold the line. And we make the Korthik regret ever threatening people under our protection." Admiral Jiwan Beek's fleet arrived the next day. She brought 30 additional ships and 3,000 Marines. She was a stern woman with iron-gray hair and eyes that had seen too much war. "I got your report," she told Jinho. "The Consortium's trap, the bioweapons, all of it. You know, they expect us to lose, right? They want us to bleed out here so we're weak everywhere else." "I know," Jinho said. "So we're not going to lose." Jiwan smiled. It wasn't a kind smile. "Good. Then let's show these bastards what happens when you threaten someone under human protection." News of the human victory at Deepwater 7 spread across the galaxy faster than light itself. Ambassador Hana watched from the Galactic Council station as species after species reacted to the reports. Some were impressed. The humans had beaten a Korthik fleet with minimal losses. Others were worried. If humans were this good at war, what did that mean for galactic peace? But the Draxon Consortium was furious. "This proves our point exactly," their leader hissed in the council chamber. "Humans are warmongers. They claim to be protectors, but look at the destruction they cause. 5 Korthic ships destroyed. Hundreds dead." Hannah stood calmly. 5 Korthic ships that were attacking civilians. Hundreds of soldiers who were trying to commit genocide. "Should we have let them continue?" "You should have negotiated," another ambassador said. "Violence is never the answer." "Tell that to the Valkyrie, who would be dead if we had spent months negotiating," Hannah replied. The Korthic weren't interested in peace. They wanted extermination. We stopped them. But the arguments continued. The galaxy was divided. Some species admired human courage. Others feared human power. And in the shadows, the Draxon Consortium worked to turn that fear into action. Meanwhile, in Valkyrie space, the war was expanding. The Korthic sent more ships. Dozens more. They attacked 3 colonies at once, trying to overwhelm the human defenders. Admiral G1 split her fleet. It was a desperate gamble, but she had no choice. She sent ships to each threatened world, spreading her forces thin. But she also did something the Korthic didn't expect. She started training the Valkyrie. Dr. Sumin worked day and night with Valkyrie volunteers. They couldn't fight directly, but they could do so much more. Valkyrie became sensor operators, communications coordinators, damage control specialists. Their quick minds and fast reactions made them perfect for support roles. At the Battle of Coral Haven, a Valkyrie coordinator named Rin spotted an incoming missile 3 seconds before human sensors detected it. His warning saved an entire ship. At the Battle of Azure Deep, Valkyrie engineers worked with Hyan to repair a damaged human destroyer while under fire, keeping it in the fight. The humans and Valkyrie were becoming a real team. But the cost was high. Earth lost ships. Soldiers died. Each victory came with casualties that hurt. Is EUL. Han arrived to manage the civilian side of the war. She was a logistics coordinator, practical and tireless. She set up refugee centers on 17 different Valkyrie worlds, coordinating the evacuation of millions. "We need more transport ships," she told Jiwan during a planning meeting. "The Valkyrie are running out of places to go." "I don't have ships to spare," Jiwan said. "Every vessel I have is needed for defense." "Then we use civilian ships," Iseo said. "Human cargo freighters, passenger liners, anything that can carry people. We ask Earth for volunteers." The call went out. Within days, dozens of civilian ships arrived from Earth. Freighter captains, merchant sailors, even wealthy individuals with private yachts. They came to help evacuate people they had never met, risking their lives in a war zone. It was such a human thing to do that it baffled other species. Why would civilians risk themselves? What did they gain? "We gained the knowledge that we helped," one freighter captain said simply. "That's enough." Dr. Minjio, a human researcher, began working with Valkyrie scientists. Together, they developed new technologies. Shields that could be powered by either human or Valkyrie energy systems. Sensors that combined human pattern recognition with Valkyrie processing speed. Defensive weapons that could be operated by either species. The war was changing both peoples. Humans learned patience from the Valkyrie. The Valkyrie learned determination from humans. Then came the Battle of Valkyrie Secondary. It was the turning point. The Korthic sent 200 warships. It was their entire remaining fleet, gathered for one overwhelming strike. They intended to crush the human defenses and take the Valkyrie homeworld once and for all. Captain Jinho, now promoted to Commodore, commanded the defense. He had 42 human ships and 60 modified Valkyrie vessels. The math was brutal. Even with clever tactics, they couldn't win. "We need to retreat," Commander Nari said quietly. We can't hold against those numbers. If we retreat, the Valkyrie lose everything, Jinho replied. Their homeworld, their culture, their history. All gone. If we stay, we lose everything, Nari countered. Our entire fleet. And for what? We can't win this. Jinho looked at the tactical display for a long moment. Then he smiled. Maybe we can't win alone. Nari, open a channel. All frequencies. Every language the galaxy speaks. What are you doing? Nari asked. Something desperate. Jinho said. Thought the transmission went out to every ship, every station, every world within range. Jinho's face appeared on millions of screens across multiple star systems. This is Commodore Jinho Kim of the Earth Defense Force. In 15 hours, the Korthak Empire will attack Valkyrie Prime with 200 warships. They intend to exterminate the Valkyrie people and claim ancient weapons that could threaten every species in the galaxy. The Earth Defense Force will stand against them. We will fight. We will bleed. And many of us will die. We do this because the Valkyrie asked for our protection, and humans keep their promises. But I'm not just talking to humans now. I'm talking to every species that can hear this. The Korthak are mercenaries, hired by the Draxan Consortium to eliminate threats. Today, it's the Valkyrie. Tomorrow it might be you. The Consortium wants a galaxy where the strong prey on the weak, where the peaceful must become warriors or die, where asking for help is answered with silence. But I believe the galaxy can be better than that. I believe there are species out there who understand that protecting the weak is not weakness. That standing against injustice is not foolishness. That honor means something. If you believe that too, then come. Fight with us. Not for Earth, not for humanity, but for the kind of galaxy you want to live in. We'll be at Valkyrie Prime, waiting. The transmission ended. The bridge was silent. Nari stared at Jinho. You just challenged the entire galaxy. Yes, Jinho agreed. Either they'll answer or we'll die alone. But at least we'll die standing for something. For 6 hours, there was no response. The human fleet prepared for battle. Ships were repaired. Weapons were loaded. Everyone wrote letters to their families, just in case. Then, 7 hours before the Korthak attack, the first response came. This is War Chief Boran of the Tervani clans. We hear your call, human. The Tervani are warriors. We know honor when we see it. We're bringing 40 ships. Where do you need us? Jinho's hand shook as he replied. Welcome, War Chief. Thank you. 2 hours later, another transmission. This is Flight Commander Shera of the Lysari Scouts. The Lysari remember when we were nearly destroyed by the Vorten Empire. The galaxy did nothing. But you fight for strangers. That is true courage. We bring 12 ships. Then, shockingly, a third transmission. This is Kren of Clan Broken Blade. We are Korthak, but we do not serve the Empire. They enslaved our clan through debt to the Consortium. We were forced to be mercenaries, to kill for money. But your broadcast showed us the truth. The Consortium uses everyone. We bring 8 ships and knowledge of Korthak tactics. We stand with you. By the time the Korthak fleet arrived, Jinho commanded a coalition of 5 species and 120 ships. It still wasn't enough to match 200 Korthak warships. But it was no longer hopeless. The battle that followed would be remembered for 1,000 years. The Korthak charged in formation, confident in their numbers. But they met a defense unlike anything they had seen. Human ships used guerrilla tactics. Tovani vessels fought with brutal ferocity. Lysari scouts provided perfect intelligence. Valkyrie coordinators managed the chaos with incredible speed. And the rebel Korthak clan knew every weakness in the Empire's battle doctrine. The fight lasted 19 hours. Space burned with weapons fire. Ships exploded. Thousands died. But slowly, impossibly, the coalition held. When it was over, the Korthek fleet was broken. They had lost 60 ships and fled in disorder. The coalition had lost 28 vessels, but they had won Dot as the last Korthek ship jumped away. Jinho slumped in his chair. They had done it. Against impossible odds, they had won. "Commodore," Nari said softly, "we're receiving transmissions from across the galaxy. Species we've never talked to. They're asking about the coalition. They want to join." Jinho looked at the messages flooding in. The galaxy had been watching, and they had seen something they never expected. They had seen hope. Victory at Valkyrie Secondary should have ended the war. The Korthek fleet was broken, scattered across a dozen systems. But 3 days after the battle, Intelligence Officer Do-Hyun Lim discovered something that turned celebration into dread. "They found it," Do-Hyun said quietly, his fingers flying across his console. "The Korthek found one of the bioweapon sites." Commodore Jinho felt his blood go cold. "Where?" "Ancient Valkyrie colony, world called Deepfall. It's mostly ocean, like all Valkyrie worlds. The weapon site is 15 kilometers under the surface, buried in the ocean floor." Do-Hyun pulled up satellite images. The Korthek have established a massive underwater base. They're excavating. Admiral G1 studied the data. "How many ships do they have defending it?" "Every Korthek vessel that survived Valkyrie Secondary, plus reinforcements from their empire. We count at least 200 warships in orbit." Do-Hyun's face was grim. "They're betting everything on this. If they get that weapon," he didn't need to finish. Everyone knew. A bioweapon that could target specific DNA meant the Korthek could eliminate any species they wanted. They could conquer the galaxy without firing a shot. "We have to stop them," Jinho said. "With what?" G1 asked. "We lost 28 ships in the last battle. The coalition is exhausted. And now the Korthek have twice as many ships as before." Yoon Daeho had been quiet, thinking. Now he spoke. "We can't win a space battle. Not against those numbers. So we don't fight a space battle." Everyone turned to look at him. "The weapon is underwater," Yoon continued. "The Korthek are excavating it. That takes time, equipment, workers. We don't need to destroy their fleet. We just need to destroy their excavation operation." "An infiltration mission," Jinho said slowly. "Through 200 warships, down through 15 kilometers of ocean into a fortified Korthek base." "It's suicide," Commander Nari said flatly. "Maybe," Yoon agreed. "But it's the only option that doesn't end with the galaxy enslaved." Quan Park stepped forward. He was a deep-sea specialist, one of the few humans who had studied extreme underwater environments. "I can lead the dive team, but we'll need Valkyrie guides. The oceans on Deepfall are their ancestral waters. They know things about them that we never will." Talvanna volunteered immediately. "I will guide you. Deepfall was my birth world. I know the currents, the caves, the thermal vents. If there is a way to reach the excavation site without the Korthek detecting us, I know it." Over the next week, they planned the mission. It would have 3 phases. Phase 1. Admiral G1 would lead the coalition fleet in a frontal assault. They wouldn't try to win, just distract. Make the Korthek focus all their attention on the space battle. Phase 2. While the Korthek were distracted, Quan would lead a mixed team of humans and Valkyrie down through the ocean. They would use the planet's natural thermal vents and underwater cave systems to approach the excavation site undetected. Phase 3. Once inside, they would destroy the bioweapon. How exactly, they hadn't figured out yet. But they'd solve that problem when they got there. It was a terrible plan. Too many things could go wrong. But it was the only plan they had. The assault team assembled. Quan led 12 human soldiers, all experienced in underwater combat. 6 Valkyrie volunteers joined them, including Kelvana. Combat medic Junho Song was part of the team, carrying medical supplies for both species. "I don't like this," Junho said as they prepared their equipment. He was young, barely 25, but already one of the best medics in the fleet. "If something goes wrong down there, I might not be able to help. Valkyrie physiology is so different from human." "Then nothing will go wrong," Quan said simply. "We go in, we blow the site, we get out." They both knew it wouldn't be that simple. It never was. The day of the mission arrived. Admiral Jiwan's fleet jumped into the deep-fall system and immediately engaged the Korthik. Space erupted with weapons fire. The Korthik, remembering their defeat at Valkyrie Secondary, threw everything they had at the Coalition. It was exactly what Jiwan wanted. While 200 warships fought in orbit, a single stealth transport slipped through the chaos and dove toward the planet. The ocean of Deepfall was dark and cold. Quan's team entered the water 30 kilometers from the excavation site. They wore powered suits that could handle the pressure, but the Valkyrie swam freely. This was their element. "Follow me," Kelvana said through the communication system. "Stay close. These waters have currents that can pull you into thermal vents. The heat would cook you instantly." They descended. 15 kilometers is a long way down. The pressure was enormous. Even with powered suits, the humans could feel it pressing against them. But the Valkyrie guided them through underwater canyons and caves, paths that had existed for millions of years. 6 hours into the dive, they encountered the first Korthik patrol. 3 enemy soldiers in heavy diving suits, checking the perimeter. Quan made a quick decision. They couldn't risk a fight that might alert the base. The Valkyrie solved the problem. They used their natural bioluminescence to create a stunning light show, disorienting the Korthik. While the enemy soldiers were confused, the humans quietly disabled them and tied them up in a cave. No alarms raised. They reached the excavation site 12 hours after entering the water. It was massive. The Korthik had built a pressurized dome around the dig site, creating an air-filled workspace. Hundreds of workers labored with drilling equipment. And at the center of it all, exposed by careful excavation, was the weapon. It looked like a crystal, 10 meters tall, pulsing with faint light. Data streams surrounded it as Korthak scientists studied its structure. "We can't destroy that with explosives," one of Quan's soldiers whispered. "The crystal structure might be resistant. And if we set off charges, we might trigger the weapon itself." Quan studied the site. "We need to get inside that dome. See what we're dealing with up close." They found an access port, disguised it to look like routine maintenance workers, and slipped inside. It was nerve-wracking. If anyone looked too closely, they'd be discovered. But the Korthak were focused on their work, certain that their fleet above would protect them. Inside the dome, Junho examined the bioweapon crystal. "It's connected to a power system," he said. "And look, there's a control interface. The Korthik have been trying to activate it. Can we shut it down?" Quan asked. "Maybe, but if we do it wrong, we might trigger it by accident." Junho studied the interface, his medical training helping him understand the biological components. "Wait, this isn't just a weapon. It's a repository. All the genetic data of a species the ancient Valkyrie fought. It's like a library of how to kill anyone." Kelvana moved closer, his translucent skin flickering. "My ancestors were ashamed of this. They built it, but realized it made them monsters. So they buried it and swore it would never be used." "We can't just destroy it," Junho said. "If we do, the explosion might trigger a chain reaction. This whole planet could be destroyed. There are millions of Valkyrie living in underwater cities here." Quan made a decision. "Then we don't destroy it. We steal it. It was insane. But sometimes, insane was all you had. They disconnected the crystal from its power system, carefully packaged it in a containment field, and started the long journey back up. That's when everything went wrong. Korthak scientists discovered the missing crystal. Alarms blared. The entire base went on alert. Quan's team ran for the water access port, carrying the heavy crystal between them. They made it outside, but the Korthak sent pursuit teams. Dozens of enemy soldiers in diving suits, armed with underwater weapons. The journey back became a running battle. Quan's team fought their way up through the ocean. They used the terrain, the caves, the currents, everything they could. But the Korthak kept coming. 3 human soldiers were killed in ambush. 2 more were wounded. 10 kilometers from the surface, they reached a choke point, a narrow canyon that they had to pass through. The Korthak were closing in from behind. If they got trapped in that canyon, they'd all die. Junho made a choice. "Keep going," he told Quan. "I'll hold them here." "Don't be stupid," Quan said. "We're not leaving you." "You have to," Junho replied calmly. He was already setting up his position, using rocks for cover. "Someone needs to get that weapon to safety. I can hold this position long enough for you to escape." "Junho," Quan started. "That's an order, Commander," Junho said. Then he smiled. "Besides, someone needs to teach these bastards about human stubbornness." Quan looked at the young medic for a long moment. Then he nodded. "I'll tell them what you did. Tell them we kept our promise," Junho said. The team moved through the canyon, carrying the crystal. Behind them, they heard the sound of Junho's weapons firing. He held that position for 43 minutes against overwhelming numbers. He killed or wounded 16 Korthak soldiers before he finally fell. His last transmission was simple: worth it. The rest of the team made it to the surface and to the extraction ship. In orbit, Admiral Jiwan's fleet was battered but holding. When they heard the mission was successful, they began their retreat. 1 week after the mission to Deepfall, Ambassador Hana Park stood before the Galactic Council once more. But this time, she stood accused. The chamber was packed. Representatives from hundreds of species had come to witness what many called humanity's trial. The Draxan Consortium had filed formal charges. They claimed humanity had violated galactic law by waging aggressive war, causing massive destruction, and interfering in affairs between other species. "The evidence is clear," the consortium leader said, his insect-like features twisted in what might have been satisfaction. "Humans have destroyed over 60 Korthak warships. They have killed thousands. They have turned peaceful space into a battlefield." He displayed images on the main screen. Burning ships, explosions, destroyed stations. "This is what human protection looks like: chaos, death, destruction." Other ambassadors murmured in agreement. Even species that had been neutral were worried. Had humanity become too dangerous? "The Council must act," the consortium leader continued. "We propose banning humans from all protection contracts. They may remain in the Council, but they must be restricted, contained, before their violence spreads further." Hannah listened quietly. She knew this moment would come. The Draxan Consortium had orchestrated everything, from hiring the Korthak to attack the Valkyrie, to now using the war they caused to turn the galaxy against humanity. When it was her turn to speak, Hana stood. But before she could say a word, Calvana rose from his seat. "I wish to speak," the Valkyrie ambassador said. "As the species whose protection was requested, I believe I have that right." The council agreed. Calvana moved to the center of the chamber, his translucent skin glowing softly. "You show us images of destroyed Korthak ships," Calvana said. "But let me show you something else." He activated his own display. This is Medic Junho Song. He was 25 years old. He died holding a canyon alone so his team could escape with a bioweapon that would have doomed us all. His last words were, "We kept our promise." Another image appeared. This is Captain Jinho Kim. When his ship was damaged and about to explode, he used his last moments to ram a Korthik dreadnought that was targeting a Valkyrie evacuation convoy. He saved 3,000 lives at the cost of his own and his entire crew. More images. More stories. Lieutenant Tai Yang-shin flew his fighter into a missile barrage meant for a Valkyrie colony ship. Commander Nari Lee coordinated a 30-hour fighting retreat, refusing to abandon any ship, any person. She died from exhaustion at her command station. The chamber was silent. Calvana's skin rippled with emotion. "You say humans are violent," Calvana continued. "I say humans are protective. You say they caused destruction. I say they prevented genocide. You show us burning Korthik ships. I show you the 17 million Valkyrie who are alive today because humans answered our call for help." He turned slowly, looking at each ambassador. Before humans came, the Korthik attacked us with impunity. The Galactic Council debated and delayed. We were told to be patient, negotiate, to wait for proper procedures. Meanwhile, my people died. Our worlds burned. Our children drowned in oceans poisoned by Korthak weapons. Then humans came. They didn't debate. They didn't delay. They said, "Yes, we will help," and they did. Not because they would gain territory, not because they would profit, but because we asked, and they believed that that was reason enough. A new voice spoke up. War Chief Born of the Tavani stepped forward. He was massive, covered in thick fur, with claws that could tear metal. "The Tavani are warriors. We have fought for 10,000 years. We know the difference between conquerors and protectors. Conquerors take. Protectors give. Humans gave their lives for species they had never met. That is not violence. That is honor." Flight Commander Shara of the Lysari spoke next. Her feathers shimmered with color as she expressed emotion. The Lysari were nearly exterminated by the Vorten Empire 300 years ago. We called for help. The galaxy did nothing. We survived alone, barely. When we heard Commodore Jinho's broadcast, asking for anyone who believed in protecting the weak to join him, we came. Not because we owed humans anything, but because we finally saw a species who understood what we had needed centuries ago. Then something unexpected happened. A Korthik stepped forward. It was Kren of Clan Brokenblade, the rebel who had fought alongside humans. "I am Korthik," Kren said, his voice rough. "My empire hired my clan to kill the Valkyrie. We had no choice. The Draxan Consortium held our debt. We were slaves, forced to be mercenaries. Then humans showed us the truth. The Consortium uses everyone. They manipulate, they profit, and they sacrifice whoever is convenient. Humans freed us. Not with force, with truth. They showed us we were being used. Now my clan and 7 others have broken from the Empire. We will not be weapons for the Consortium anymore." The Draxan Consortium leader tried to interrupt, but the council speaker silenced him. More species came forward. The Alani, whose trade routes humans had protected. The Varesh, whose colony humans had evacuated when pirates attacked. Dozens of species, each with stories of humans helping, protecting, sacrificing. Finally, it was Hana's turn. She walked to the center of the chamber, small compared to most species present, but standing tall. "You fear us," Hana said simply. "I understand that. We are good at war. We are violent when we need to be. And yes, we cause destruction. But let me tell you why. Humans come from a death world. Our planet tried to kill us every day. Extreme weather, dangerous predators, diseases, disasters. We survived by learning 2 things, how to fight and when to help. For thousands of years on Earth, we fought each other. Tribes against tribes. Nations against nations. We learned every way there is to kill. We became very, very good at it. But we also learned something else. We learned that when you protect those who cannot protect themselves, civilization grows. When the strong shield the weak, everyone becomes stronger. The Valkyrie asked us for protection. They could have asked anyone, but they asked us because they understood something the rest of you don't. Being good at war doesn't make you evil. What makes you evil is what you use that skill for. The Korthik used violence to conquer and enslave. We used violence to protect and defend. Can you see the difference? Should you see the difference? Yes, 60 Korthik ships were destroyed. Yes, thousands of soldiers died. But those soldiers were trying to commit genocide. They were trying to obtain a weapon that would let them enslave the entire galaxy. We stopped them. And we would do it again. You call us violent. You call us dangerous. You call us aggressive. But I ask you this. What do you call a galaxy where peaceful species like the Valkyrie must become warriors to survive? What do you call a galaxy where asking for help is answered with silence? What do you call a galaxy where the Draxon Consortium can hire mercenaries to eliminate anyone they see as competition, and no one stops them? Hannah paused, letting her words sink in. I'll tell you what I call it. I call it a galaxy without hope. A galaxy where being peaceful means being a victim. Where being weak means being prey. But it doesn't have to be that way. Commodore Jinho proved that when he broadcast to the galaxy, asking for any species with honor to join him. And you know what happened? Species answered. The Tavani came. The Lysari came. Even Rebel Korthik came. Because they saw something different. They saw a chance to build a galaxy where the strong protect the weak, not exploit them. That's what humans offer. Not conquest. Not domination. Protection. The chance to build something better. So yes, ban us if you want. Say we're too dangerous. Send us back to our little corner of space. But when the next species cries for help, and the council debates and delays, and good people die while you follow procedures, remember this moment. Remember that you chose politics over protection. Remember that you chose fear over hope. Hannah returned to her seat. The chamber was absolutely silent. The council speaker called for the vote. But before he could begin, something happened. The ambassador from the Marvani, a species that had been neutral throughout everything, stood up. I wish to propose an alternative, she said. Instead of banning humans, we should learn from them. I propose the Sentinel Accord, a formal recognition of protector species, humans, Torvani, any species willing to defend those who cannot defend themselves, with proper oversight, proper rules, but with the authority to act when action is needed. The debate that followed lasted 3 days. Species argued, negotiated, compromised. The Draxon Consortium fought the proposal at every turn, but their influence was broken. Too many species had seen the truth. In the end, the Sentinel Accord passed by a wide margin. Humanity would not be banned. Instead, Earth Defense Force would become the core of a new coalition. Other warrior species could join. They would be called Sentinels, and their purpose would be to protect species that could not protect themselves. There would be oversight, rules, procedures. But when a species asked for help, the Sentinels could answer without waiting for council approval. 6 months later, the first Sentinel Academy opened on a joint human Valkyrie station. Admiral Jiwan Beek, promoted to Supreme Commander of the Sentinel Forces, oversaw training of the first mixed species units. Humans, Davani, Lasari, Reformed Korthik, and volunteers from 20 other species trained together. Yoon Dae-ho became the chief strategist, teaching tactics that balanced cultural extra